when people are actually going to see? Because, I mean, if they hadn't heard you say some of these things now, those who have not visited there will not know that these works have been done.
Well, the unfortunate thing is that once an impression has been created, it becomes difficult to change that impression. The impression that has been created is the federal government has not done anything or we don't care. It's a very vital artery for us as a country. A good about 80% of our economy in terms of import-export is totally dependent on that axis. So we take it very seriously. But what is not being said sufficiently is the amount of resources the federal government is deploying. That road is over 30 years old. It's collapsed. But it's taking federal government quite a bit of time to reconstruct the road. What we are doing is to do concrete road, not asphalt road, concrete road with thickness of over 1 foot so that it can last another 30 years because it's a major artery. Now, during this period, it was never envisaged that we will have a lot of tank farms that will carry tankers to the extent that it has now. Now, having experienced that, we have a duty to reconstruct the road, but making provision for that high capacity usage. Okay. So it's all ongoing.
Tell us again, we didn't finish off until we went on that break, about the Atlas Cove. There can be a solution to that. What is government thinking about doing?
Well, first of all, PPMC is working and thinking 24 hours a day in terms of what do we do, how do we manage this issue of movement of petroleum products through the pipeline. Now, I think they are working on developing more pipelines and more secure system, but it is never done overnight. While this is being done, we need to move petroleum products to different parts of the country. So it's very easy for people to say, oh, relocate the tank farms, pump petroleum products through the pipeline. I agree, but we just have to fix it. It's not something you fix overnight. It takes time, and we will fix it.
What about rail?
Rail system is developing very rapidly. As you well know, there's a link between Ido and Apapa that is just being finalized. And today, we are now moving cargo from Lagos up to Kano. As you probably know, only about 2-3 weeks ago, the Minister of Transport commissioned a dry cargo port in Katsina, as far as Katsina. So all these things are being developed simultaneously. But unfortunately, there are facilities that take time to mature. It will mature, but it will take time. But the most important thing is for people to know that federal government is working along those lines.
You talked about a situation degenerating. The meeting you talked about held in July, but I do know that on this program and at this station, we did stay on that Apapa Oshodi matter for a while, for over a month. In fact, I think it started with complaints of traffic gridlock that was holding people for sometimes as much as 12 hours, on a particular road. And, the situation wasn't very, very pretty. Between the first time you met, the Lagos state government and the federal government, was a well-publicized event, when you people had this cooperation. And that was what came to mind when this complaint came around, that what exactly had happened to that cooperation and what was happening with monitoring progress at the tank farms and along that particular road. What would you say happened that things got that bad?
Well, first of all, let me say that we have never done anything in Lagos, whether it's stakeholder meetings or any operation, without the full knowledge and support of Lagos state government. In other words, it is not possible for us to achieve any success in Lagos on the roads without the cooperation of Lagos state government. So that must be understood. Secondly, the fact that we have what we call federal road and state roads, if there are issues on the federal side, it will impact on the Lagos state side. Now, if it does happen, Lagos state government can raise alarm oh my God, it's because you are part of the road has not been fixed, that's why we are suffering. I think that is really what the governor was trying to make. But the point I'm making is that in trying to make his case, he couldn't possibly make our own case to say, we are also working on our own side of the road. But we have not reached that segment that he was talking about.
No, but that's why we were saying that at that time, that was why we were careful enough to put the file there. At that time, early July, you hadn't started. Your meeting hadn't even held.
Yes.
So it couldn't have been given any kind of reason or to the people that the federal government was working on that particular road. Because you said specifically on the 17th of July was when you had your meeting.
Yes.
And that was before 17th of July.
Well, I'm sure you've forgotten that Oshodi-Apapa road is a long road. It's longer than Tinkan Island spot. You're looking at one spot. We're talking about road from Oroshoki down to Apapa port. It's more than 20 or 25 kilometers.
I'm glad you're saying all of this now.
So you're looking at one spot.
Because you said you were there yesterday,
Yes.
and a lot of people are going to take your word for it, even though we still will be going there pretty much later today to see things for ourselves as a crew. But people would want to know how soon this will be over, because when you say that the tankers on their own volition have left the road,
Absolutely.
and they're waiting or working on a call-up system that will bring them only when they are needed to that area of town.
Yeah.
How soon do you think that we can speed up this work by your contractors that are there so that we can have a smooth ride?
Well, first of all, we must recognize that the federal government, in recognition of the importance of the road, awarded the contract to the best construction company, certainly in Nigeria, Julius Berger. So we cannot just do a quick fix it. Although we have rehabilitated that segment of the road to enable traffic to continue to flow. That has already been done. We have achieved that.
Which is what ought to have been done in the very
No.
first instance.
You see, we're talking about quick fix now. If you do quick fix, you end up fixing it. We've been doing that on a regular basis. You see, the road was never designed to carry the type of weight that is carrying. This is rainy season. So as soon as you have this quick intervention, it washes away, you have quick intervention. It's unnecessarily expensive. So what federal government decided to do is to say, while this quick fix is happening, we also need to move Julius Berger onto this road. But to do that, the tanker drivers needed to go. And we had a meeting with tanker drivers and said, look, we can't do anything unless you guys give us the space.
Because I recall,
The point we're making is that, you started this initiative 2 years ago.
Yes.
At some point, it would seem that nothing was being done until an alarm was raised sometime this year, not just by the Lagos State government, by Vanguard newspapers, I remember, because they had a picture of the traffic gridlock almost on a daily basis on their front page.
Yes.
And it didn't seem like much was being done until recently when you said you had that particular meeting. How did things degenerate from 2 years ago to that point they got to?
Can I just rewind? What I said is that road work was ongoing from Okota
2 years
Bridge.
ago.
Yes, you don't build a road in a day.
I understand
or in 6
that.
months. It takes a long time to build road.
you know why Mark said this? Just key this in, because I recall it was at that time yourself and the coordinating minister of the economy paid a visit there, and you said it will also aid the ease of doing business within that axis, especially doing business within the port and the country in Nigeria, which you were working at achieving, is it 2 or 3 days?
48 hours.
48 hours, which is 2 days.
Yeah.
So that is why Mark is still on that particular one, because one would have thought that you would have given it so much attention and interest.
The federal government has done everything that it needed to do. One was to build or reconstruct the internal roads within the port system. That is completed 100%. Federal government has developed the railway link between Ido and Apapa. That has already been
Chamberlain
achieved.
wants to see the petroleum product being transported through the rails, because I'm happy that you said something about the PPMC, the effort of the PPMC,
Yes.
which is commendable, and he also was saying that we should also look at how we can stem the issue of vandalism. But before we go on with that, because it's an ongoing thing, he's also asking, why is it that we have not tried the rail system now that is working to transport the petroleum products?
First of all, these things don't come overnight. You have to buy the petroleum tankers themselves, I mean rail tankers to transport these things. And
but is it something that the government is looking into?
Oh, cargo has been the mainstay of any railway link, and that is being done. And as a matter of fact, new systems are being deployed. But most importantly, the railway link must get to where you have the tank farms. You see, when the tank farms were constructed, they were not constructed. They were constructed at the points where you offload petroleum products from the ship. And that time, the issue of rail link was not conceived. So you have to put all that into consideration.
Let me bring in this comment from Onogo. He's making the point about the Atlas Cove, which you spoke about. He says it's not primarily because of vandalism, but majorly because of lack of storage tanks at the tank farm. He goes on to say that out of over 15 tanks at Atlas Cove Jetty, not up to 7 are good for product storage. As a result, when the available tanks are filled up, they intermittently shut down pumping owing to evacuation of product before storage begins again.
Well, I'll take what brief I have from PPMC. PPMC is the biggest independent importer of crude oil. If they have problem pumping oil, you see, the issue is not even storage. We're not talking about storage at Atlas Cove. We're talking about facilities as far away as Ilorin. So it's not about facility having enough capacity at Atlas Cove. Atlas Cove is fine. It's a temporary holding bay. But you have to move it outside the holding bay. What we are saying is moving it by pipeline is a difficult undertaking because of vandalism. So I don't understand his intervention.
All right, then. That's where we'll have to draw the curtains. We want to thank you for coming on. Professor Sylvester Amoye is a special advisor to the President on performance monitoring and evaluation. We've been speaking about the construction of Oshodi-Apapa Expressway. Thank you for coming on again today.
Thank you very much.